you spend all your money on?
Lots of things, all of the things. Mainly kit, physio, travel. Unsurprisingly, like travel's the biggest. Travel and kit is pretty tied. But yeah, we basically thought halfway through the year, I've done no racing. I thought it might be quite interesting to do my usual financial update from a perspective of being injured all of the first half of the year and basically not having made any money. Quick one, huge favour to ask. So this year we're trying to improve everything that we're creating, and we don't ask for much, but one thing that would help us hugely would be if you could just hit that subscriber button. Thank you. To kind of show, I guess partly how hard it can be trying to be an athlete, even when you have really great sponsors and people supporting you. The kind of, I think it's like the underlying sort of pressure still, like not just of trying to make some kind of living. But yeah, I think it's all the little things that add up. And I think also from an injury perspective, things cost more. Like I'm having more regular physio, I've had things like scans, gone to see sports doctors, etc. That all adds up quite quickly. And then other things like I did a heat camp at the beginning of the year because I thought I was going to get to race. So there's lots of things. So yeah, I'd kind of thought it'd be quite interesting to do a mid-year update and then hopefully have a more successful second half of the season and be able to kind of do a real comparison of like first 6 months of the year versus second 6 months of the year. But yeah, this is the view of a pro triathlete who can't race. Am I surviving? And I guess from like broader context, obviously this year I also stopped working for Lloyd's, so I've had no sort of base income from that, which I did have the last few years. I obviously wasn't counting it in these updates because it's separate to triathlon, but from I no longer have that income. I am still coaching, so I still get a little bit of income from coaching, but again, I've not counted that as part of this update because I see that as like another job. It's not part of being a pro triathlete, and yeah, it's certainly not enough to pay the bills, so. I'm actually going to start with the what have I made, because that's a lot less and easier to cover. So from an underlying contract perspective, I have quite a few sponsors now that are actually paying me money as well as kit, which is obviously super helpful, makes a massive difference, especially in this environment where I'm not making any money from racing. So yeah, that sponsor money is basically what's keeping me afloat at the moment. So that is basically been £20,000 over this first half of the year. So yeah, that's like quite a nice base. Keeps me eating. Then YouTube has made actually quite decent money this half of the year. So at the moment it's at £1,795. I've sold a bit of kit and I've made £5,500 from that. And I had a kickback on a couple of lever sales, which has made me £292. So overall, in terms of the income that's come in, that's basically £27,689, which actually was a pleasant surprise. I actually thought it was not going to be as much as that. So that was actually quite reassuring to see. Then in terms of what I spent, like I said, there's been some bigger expenditures this first half of the year because of being injured. So we'll kind of start with that. So yeah, I've kind of bunched it under medical, and that covers like scans, going to see doctors, some of the blood tests that I've done. So that's been £1,403.80. On top of that, the sort of physio cost, and within that I've also counted the cost of Lawrence coming to Spain, which thankfully I managed to offset a little bit with some other people that were also using him, like Justus out there and a couple other people that saw him for treatments, so that was a lot cheaper than it would have been. But yeah, total physio cost £2,445.60. Then there's like the underlying cost of training, so like pool cost keeps going up a little bit, so that's now at £963 for the first half of the year. Gym, so yeah, the gym I've kept just because it's been helpful sometimes to have the extra swimming, but it's something I'm going to cancel for the rest of the year because it just costs too much money for the few times I need to use it. That currently sits at £690.76. Race licence, so this is both my British Triathlon licence and my Ironman Pro licence, that's £1,158.70. Then content-wise, this is the kickback from YouTube that I give to Jack, and then also the monthly payment that I make to Jack. So that has totaled £2,436. And then I also had a bit of input on like the storytelling around my website and some branding stuff around that, which was then £1,100. Then the other big cost, kit, is the big cost. So bike parts so far this year have cost me £3,041. Part of that's the new front end, that's probably like 50% of that. And then the other bit is stuff like tyres, all the other random stuff that just adds up. In terms of clothes, so this is like just basic kit I've had to buy. I actually also had to pay for one of my race suits from last year, which only came out of this year's budget. And yeah, just general training clothes, that's £1,462. Trainers, I spent £397.55 on, which obviously haven't been used that much with the lack of running. And then yeah, the other big cost then has obviously been travel. So even though I haven't really raced, I've done a fair bit of travel. So I did the month of February in Spain. I flew to Nice and did the sort of Nice camp there. So that was the accommodation and flights and car rental. I went to Mallorca to try and race, which again was flights and car rental, didn't actually have to pay for accommodation there. And I went to Singapore for the heat camp, which was flights.
Hoping to race as well.
Hoping to race. So yeah, so flights has been quite a big one. Flights was £3,718. Part of that as well is a few airlines have really upped their bike costs. KLM for one have upped what you now have to pay for a bike, which makes that more expensive. Accommodation spent £1,317.30 on. Car rental £1,344, and then like miscellaneous stuff, which is like extra baggage and some of that kind of stuff, is another £682.50. So that totals £22,706. The other thing that I've not actually added on yet is also my coaching costs for this year. Part of that's because we've been trying to work out, Denmark have brought in some new laws around VAT, so Casper and I have been having a bit of a back to forth as to whether I should be paying VAT or not, because there's been some people I've spoken to think I shouldn't. He's been told by his accountant he does need to charge me that, which basically obviously makes it a bit more expensive for me. It's going to be about €2,160 for coaching. So
£2,000.
yeah, so about £2,000. So that's an extra. So it's quite close in terms of have I actually made any money. It's about £3,000, which obviously some of the other basic costs that I haven't put in here is stuff like food, petrol, that kind of stuff, which, yeah, if you've seen the way that I eat, you'd know that £3,000 over 6 months wouldn't cover that. So yeah, basically, if I hadn't set myself up, A, with a little bit of coaching on the side, or B, with actually saving money before I left Lloyd's, I would be looking for other avenues of income, because yeah, that wouldn't be enough for me to live